Please welcome Patrick Cozzi, Chief Platform Officer, Bentley Systems.
Good morning, everyone. It's so great to see us all together. There's more than 400 of us here from all around the world, from 23 countries, as far as Japan, South Korea, Australia, and I wanted to welcome everyone to Philadelphia. We're known for many things, including the birthplace of cesium. And I've spent the majority of my life here, and when I was young, every 4th of July, my father would take me on a tour of the historic parts of the city, and we'd go up the elevator in City Hall to the observation deck under the William Penn statue, and you could see the city skyline. And I'll never forget that iconic PSFS building where the letters were bright red. Well, today, that building is the Lowe's Hotel, where we are, and the PSFS letters, they're lit cesium green in honor of our gathering. So folks, a year ago, almost to the day, we hosted the Federal Technical Exchange meeting. This conference is a scaled up version of that, where we've invited folks across industries to celebrate the accomplishments of the 3D geospatial ecosystem. Think of Cesium and Bentley as your host, but really it's the work of the community that's center stage. And it's evident in our numbers. We have 14 presenters from Bentley and Cesium and 87 from the community. So in the last year, a lot has happened, and your work has put 3D geospatial into the limelight. 3.2 billion, it's not a number that you hear often, but that's the size of the TV audience for Premier League. And those viewers get to enjoy these geospatial fly-throughs where they can see the stadium in geospatial context, bring together the built and the natural environment, developed by Boost Graphics using Cesium. And these types of fly-throughs for sports have also been done by Fox Sports for Fox NFL Sunday, where they fly out from the stadium through the clouds, then you see where the announcers are. And we've seen similar fly-throughs done by NBC Sports for the games in Paris. And what do these all have in common? Well, they're enabled by open source and open standards. The 3D Tiles OGC community standard enables developers to build with Google photorealistic 3D tiles for the content, Unreal Engine for the rendering and the video production, and then Cesium for the streaming. And then open source enabled the developers to get started with a very low barrier to entry. There was no business plan for us to reach sports. Just organically, the community started developing with it. And the community has become quite large. So including Cesium.js and then the open source runtimes, the plugins for Unreal, Unity, and Omniverse, we've reached over 13 million downloads. And then the Cesium Ion cloud services every month reach 2 million unique devices. And that's not counting all of the self-hosted private network instances. So folks, I remember when I first started seeing Cesium on resumes, and I'm like, wow, we made it, right? People are marketing themselves with Cesium as a skill. And today we have the Cesium Certified Developer Program. It's a credential that businesses look for when they go to hire developers, and it's a great way for developers to market their Cesium skills. There's over 125 certified organizations representing over 350 individuals. And I know there's a lot of certified developers here with us today. I just wanted to ask folks to stand, if we could do a round of applause. Please stand. Cool. Excellent. And for the record, I am not certified, but I hope everyone in this room becomes certified. So something else that we really like is the Cesium ecosystem grants. We've committed $1 million in non-dilutive funding for grants to expand the open ecosystem, often investing in open source and learning material. And we've granted 16 of these so far, and there's a few that I wanted to highlight. One is 3D tile support for QGIS to do open source geospatial analysis done by Luthor Consultant and Northrode. The next I wanted to highlight is 3D tiles in the open source game engine Godot, the most popular open source game engine done by Battle Road. And then finally, 3D tiles in 3JS, the most popular open source WebGL engine done by Garrett Johnson. Very complementary to Cesium.js. And while we're here at the conference, we'd love to hear your ideas on how you'd like to see the ecosystem grow. So folks, something else really big has happened in the last year. There's a hint behind me here. So Cesium has joined Bentley Systems, and we've known Bentley for the last 10 years or so. Bentley are very early adopters of Cesium.js and 3D tiles for building infrastructure, digital twins. We've been kindred spirits, and in joining Bentley, we really feel it's an accelerator for everyone. One is, as we bring Cesium and 3D tiles to the Bentley products, it's creating more contributions to the open source. And we're already seeing that happening with things like multiple viewports and orthographic projections in Cesium native. Second is we've been hiring more. We've been adding to the team, contributing to Cesium.js and Cesium for Unreal Engine. And then third is Bentley's done a lot with iTwin services for digital twins and reality modeling, and we're bringing them to Cesium Ion. And we'll see a demo in a little bit. But first, I'd like to hear directly from a longtime Cesium fan and Bentley founder. We're going to hear a video from Keith Bentley.
Hello, I'm Keith Bentley. I am the founder and I was the Chief Technology Officer of Bentley Systems for nearly 40 years. And I would like to spend a little bit of time telling you about Bentley's role in Cesium and Cesium's role at Bentley from my perspective. You can imagine over the 4 decades that Bentley Systems has been in business that technology has changed substantially, and our aspirations for what we could do for the design, build, and operation of infrastructure has changed over the years. So what we now aspire to, at least what I think we should be aspiring to as a group of individuals working towards the betterment of the planet, is building digital models, full digital models of the infrastructure that we all rely on every day. Now, each piece of infrastructure asset sits on a location on the Earth, but they're all interconnected. So if you had a digital model of a single asset, that would be valuable, and I think many people will aspire to create digital models of assets. But a roadway network connects to a city, which connects to buildings and water systems and electrical systems. They're all interconnected. So what I think, as an industry, we should aspire to is a virtual digital model of the Earth and all of the improvements on the Earth. The only way that I can think of that you could conceive of a digital model that would span all the 4 dimensions of the infrastructure of the world is to have a technology based on openness and open standards. So that became Bentley Systems' position on our technology strategy a few years back. And one of the reasons that I became so convinced of that is I saw the open source project Cesium, and I was so inspired by what had happened both in the technology. I looked at all of the code in Cesium and I was just amazed, but the Cesium ecosystem was just substantial enough that it, to me, is the beginnings of what I believe will become a much bigger part of the way technology evolves in the future. So anyway, Cesium inspired me to make sure that Bentley Systems became an open company, an open source provider, and a participant. Then we started looking at, well, how could we benefit more from the initiatives that are going on in the ecosystem around Cesium? And then we started talking to Patrick and the guys at Cesium, the group at Cesium, and we determined that, hey, we have so many things in line. Not everything about Cesium is about infrastructure, and not everything about infrastructure has to do with geospatial. But the overlap is so large that we thought, hey, we should work together more closely with the group at Cesium. And so then we started talking about investing, and ultimately we decided that we could acquire Cesium. Now, when we did that, we determined that, well, it would be the worst outcome of all is for Bentley to invest in Cesium and then for the Cesium community to determine that that was a bad thing for them. So I spent some time talking with Patrick about trying to make sure that that didn't happen. So our role at Cesium is to be a driver to help make Cesium successful. Bentley wishes for the ecosystem around Cesium to grow without bound, certainly not without influence from Bentley. So the Cesium development efforts are all independent. They take input from everyone, including Bentley, but not, specifically Bentley. Now, we at Bentley are going to use, and already are using, Cesium for lots of things. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for the world to embrace open technology. I think open source is the future of our industry. I think with AI, we're not bound by anything other than our imagination. So together, I hope we will work on growing the pie and making sure that each of us are successful when the other are successful. So on behalf of Bentley, I thank you for your interest in Cesium. I hope you have a great conference. I hope you will give lots of feedback. And if that feedback is about how we should work together, how we can work together better, all the more, please let Bentley know what we can do. We will hopefully work in many ways for a long time to come. So thank you, Patrick. Thank you for all of you for attending, and have a great day.
Man, I just love Keith's enthusiasm, and he's really in awe of the work of the 3D geospatial community. And we did talk at length on how Cesium joining Bentley could be good for all of us. So folks, next up, we're going to honor someone very special with the Bentley Lifetime Achievement Award. This will be the 5th such award ever given, and the first given since 2015. The Bentley Lifetime Achievement Award celebrates significant and sustained contributions to infrastructure and related fields such as geospatial and computer graphics. So Dr. Norm Badler joined the faculty at the University of Pennsylvania in 1974, where he went on to start the undergraduate graphics program and then to co-found the graduate graphics program with Steve Lane. Norm was a leading scholar in computer graphics and animation. He's authored almost 300 papers with 21,000 citations. Norm students can be found at Pixar, Disney, ILM, pretty much anywhere you'd think for computer graphics. And we have a number of former students up with us today that I'd ask to come join us on stage. Then, with over 20 of Norm's former students as current or previous colleagues at Bentley, Norm was essential in the creation of Cesium. He educated us, he inspired us, he made us believe that we could accomplish things that were seemingly insurmountable, whether that was implementing a paper, teaching a course, or writing a book. And I remember when I defended my master's thesis and Norm said, "Congratulations, you've earned a master's degree the hard way." And that work went on to become 3D Tiles. Norm was excited to join us today in person, but unfortunately, Norm passed away last month. His passion lives on in his contributions to his field, in his students, and in his family. To accept the Bentley Lifetime Achievement Award on his behalf, please join me in welcoming to the stage Norm's wife, Ginny Badler.
Hello, and thank you very much. I am here to thank you because soon after Norman passed, I got a phone call from one of his close colleagues saying, "Ginny, you were the love of his life." But that's not true. You were the love of his life. And in fact, let me shake your hands and thank you personally, but I know there are many more. There's probably a whole auditorium full of his ex-students, and you're all very special, and it's lovely to be here. But I know that you are the love of his life, because when we talked about what he was going to be buried in, he didn't ask for a lock of my hair. He asked to be buried in a cesium cap and a School of Engineering fleece jacket. Wow. And this, I have a picture if anyone wants proof. So, so you were his life. I thank you, I applaud you. And you made his life wonderful, you made his life meaningful, and you made him a lot easier to live with, because he was a happy man, especially after one of your wonderful meetings. So anyway, that's all I think I have time for, but I just want to say I appreciate you all, every one of you, so much, and thank you.
And Ginny, we'll just do, and could we do, great. Thank you, Ginny. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on stage. Oop.
Norm wishes he were here, but he's here in spirit. And you should be lifting this, not me.
Well, oh, you can take that with you.
I can take it with me? Wow, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginny. We appreciate those very kind words about Norm and his contributions to all of us here. So folks, I have a lot of respect for the research community and the advancements in computer vision, AI, and 3D reconstruction have really fueled the 3D geospatial data ecosystem. I remember seeing some of the earliest work of photogrammetry models in 3D tiles, and that actually came from Bentley Systems context capture, now known as iTwin capture. And it's so cool to be under one roof together. And wait till you see what we're doing. Please join me in welcoming Renaud Keriven, distinguished engineer from Bentley Systems. Renaud? Welcome.
Patrick? Patrick, please. I need this. Hello. How does it work? Yeah. So hello, everyone. Thanks, Patrick, for having me. I'm very happy to be here. It's such a great pleasure to be with you, with Cesium developers, Bentley Cesium colleagues. I don't know how to call them now. I'm very, very happy. I'm very proud of being here. And, well, don't trust my jet lag face. But I'm also very excited because I have good news for you. I have 3 good news to share with you. While I cannot resist about a spoiler alert about the last one, we will have Gaussian-Splats. But let's start with the beginning of it. Thanks, Amanda. Let's start with the beginning of it. The first good news is that iTwin Capture and Cesium has been made for the other, one for the other. I mean, Patrick is right. We were the first one who exporting 3D tiles at that time, Cesium 3D tiles. And we are now in the same company, in the same team. And under Patrick guidance and incredible positive energy, so that's very good news. It seems a good news for internal Bentley guys, but it's a good news for the community, I guess, because a lot will come out of that. That's the good news. So what about iTwin Capture? So iTwin Capture started with photogrammetry, so it's a way to turn photos into a 3D mesh, even with unmatched accuracy. You have here a model we did before being Bentley. Were called Smart 3D Capture at the time. It's a mix of photos going from a tenth of millimeter accuracy when you are close and close up to the statue to photos taken by a plane at 1,000 meters high, for which each pixel is just 10 centimeters. So we were able to mix all that already like a tile mesh, just one huge tile mesh. But imagine that this tile mesh, usually once you have a tile mesh, it's a lot of level of details. And here what we have is that all around the Paris city, the same number of level of details, but if you go down that tree close to the statue, you go deeper and deeper and deeper. So it's something which is unbalanced, not easy at all to do. That's what we did at that time. And this is all about 3D tiles. So look at this huge and insane model produced by our partner Nearmap. They were using hundreds of machines running iTwin Capture to produce this one. I will let the video go to the end of it. So this is a balanced 3D tile. Imagine that every detail you were able to see at the beginning of the video, you can do that with everything here. So that was fantastic. We've been acquired by Bentley 10 years ago. So now iTwin Capture is not only about photogrammetry, it's also about AI. So we have 3D analysis, we have AI analysis in 3D, in 2D. And because we are computer vision guys and we know everything, every link between the images and the 3D, including distortion, optics, and whatever, we are also able to have in iTwin Capture this kind of machine learning when you detect things, here cracks, on images, and are able to project that back to here a mesh of a bridge, which has been constructed by iTwin Capture. So good news number 2 now, and this is for you. iTwin Capture joins Cesium Ion, and you will be able to use Cesium Ion to launch photogrammetry and AI, just the way you do it with iTwin Capture. These are just screenshots of Cesium Ion running photogrammetry to get this nice boat house, and this specific AI detection of assets along the railroad. So that's a big deal. You can use Cesium Ion and have all the power of iTwin Capture in terms of photogrammetry and of machine learning analysis. Okay. Is it all? No. I mean, 2 years ago, a small research group published a paper at SIGGRAPH, the same kind of paper they have been publishing for 20 years on the same subject. But that time, they had the nice idea. And this idea is Gaussian splatting. So it's Gaussian splatting, if you heard about it. It's a new way to have 3D from photos, leveraging AI and the power of GPUs and everything you have with AI frameworks. And you can see here these 2 telecom towers that have been acquired by some users of iTwin Capture. On the left-hand side, you have the meshes, and you miss everything detailed. On the right-hand side, you have the Gaussian splats. So it makes a huge difference. And we are so happy for this guy because we knew them. I mean, they have been trying to do that hard for 20 years, more than 20 years. And they had the idea, this Gaussian splat. And in less than 2 years, everyone wants to have Gaussian splats. And this is what we did. So we worked hard as one team now, because we are one team, both iTwin Capture and Cesium guys. And we were able to turn this Gaussian splat into something geospatial, 3D geospatial. So in a way, we went from something which was small objects and not georeferenced to something which is huge. This one is a Microsoft campus acquired by Bentley something like 6 years ago. I should show that to Keith. I mean, Keith was keen of this reconstruction. So it's the first time we have that with Gaussian splat instead of meshes, and it's so large. So nice, you can see all the small details. Let me play the video until the end so that you can see everything at once. Another example, this oil and gas plant with all the thin structures you will never get with meshes, that's for sure. I mean, I could look at that for hours, just because I knew the guys who invented Gaussian splats. That's nice. And the last one, I told you nothing about how Gaussian splats work, but you will discover a surprise at the end of this one. It can deal with transparency, not only opaque. The surprise is the flame you can see here. That's so nice. So we want to have that everywhere for geospatial, that's for sure. So we worked hard to have that. You can have that in iTwin Capture, the standard iTwin Capture solution. And of course, you have that in Cesium.js, that's for sure. Here's an example of the sandbox of Cesium.js. When you have the mesh on the right-hand side and the Gaussian splats on the left-hand side. And of course, Cesium Ion, now able to produce 3D models from photos, have Gaussian splat. And I have just to add that, of course, because we are working hard of having that becoming an OGC standard, it's just technical preview. We are still converged toward a standard for these Gaussian splats becoming geospatial. Okay, the result of Ion running Gaussian splats. And that's it. So my main message will be, now we are just one team. We work together and wait for a long list of new features coming with this Gaussian splat. That's for sure. So we have presentations here today. Please attend this presentation if you want to know more about iTwin Capture, about Gaussian splats. And play with it. I mean, it's tech preview for this Gaussian splat, so we are waiting for your feedback. That's very important. Thank you.
Renaud, that was fantastic. So I just want to recap a couple things here. So what we saw was today in Cesium Ion, we can access the modeling and photogrammetry capability from iTwin Capture. We can also access the AI feature detectors to extract insights from those models. And then we also have a preview for creating Gaussian splats and then visualizing that in Cesium.js with the intention to work with the community to develop an open standard for the Gaussian splats with 3D tiles. Pretty amazing.
Thank you. Thanks,
Great.
Patrick.
Thanks again, Renaud. And folks, Renaud is based out of Paris, and I visited their office back in September, and I just walked in, I just felt like I was home. I mean, all of these computer vision PhDs, and they had all these graphics books that I've read over the years. It was just so cool to be there. So many of us in the rooms here, we build solutions for the Department of Defense and the intelligence community. In fact, Cesium was born in aerospace and defense. So here to give us the national security perspective, please join me in welcoming the CEO of the United States Geospatial Intelligence Foundation, Ronda Schrenk. Ronda, great to see you.
Good to see you. Good morning.
Thank you for joining us in Philadelphia.
Thank you. Wow, look at this room, Patrick. This is amazing. Give
Yes.
yourselves a hand. Wow.
So Rhonda, national security is important to many of us working in geospatial. And could you tell us a bit about geospatial and national security?
Absolutely. So, and specifically my brand is geospatial intelligence. And that scares people sometimes. Like, whoa, intelligence, geospatial intelligence, what is that? So the term was born a little over 20 years ago when all of the mapping and the imagery pieces of the federal government were brought together under one roof called the National Imagery and Mapping Agency. And it didn't work really well at first, right? Because we had the mappers and we had the imagery people. And then around 2003, the term was brought together to really show the power of bringing together geospatial data with analysis to make sense of our world. And why is that relevant for you? Because that's what Cesium does and that's what Bentley does. I loved this opening and showing the power of intelligence with the data, right? In your opening video, I loved showing everything happens in our world, whether it's in space or on the earth, geo, or below the earth, or on the ocean, below the ocean, at a space and time, right? And what the geospatial intelligence does specifically is help make sense of that, right? To be predictive, explain what's already happened, help with what's happening in real time, and more work on that predictive nature for our collective national security. And national security can be so broad, right? We think about it with military implications often, and it also has to do with other parts of our well-being. So if you think about disaster response, if you think about protecting our coastal waterways, many implications for our collective national security.
Yeah, thank you, Rhonda. I agree. And I think as CEO of USGIF, you do a great job facilitating broad collaboration. Could you tell us a bit about collaboration, especially across industries and government?
Absolutely. So collaboration is king. And I'll often talk about the great triumvirate. Have you heard me use that before?
I don't
think so. So especially when I'm talking about United States Geospatial Intelligence Foundation, for me, the great triumvirate is government, industry, and academia. More and more innovation is coming out of academia. It's coming out of industry with partners like Cesium and Bentley, and then working closely with our government colleagues to work on those hard problems in the world. And when I talk about that great triumvirate, I didn't say US, right? We live in a global ecosystem. So our international partners, and I've seen several international partners here already this morning and last night at the welcome, are essential for us to come together to work on those really hard problems.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rhonda, USGIF puts on the GeoInt conference, and I really feel that Cesium kind of grew up at the GeoInt conference. And in fact, the first time that we ever did a demo of 3D tiles at a conference was GeoInt 2015, where we were showing buildings from CyberCity 3D in the context of Cesium World Terrain. Could you tell us a bit more about USGIF, the GeoInt conference, but what else you do?
Absolutely. Has anybody been to the GeoInt conference? Let me see a raise of hands. All right, so we have a full audience of those who have been to GeoInt and those who will have been to GeoInt by next summer, right? Is that what I'm hearing? So we bring together about 4,000 of our closest friends from around the world. Last year we had 40 individual countries represented at the GeoInt Symposium. And the idea, as an educational nonprofit, is to bring together that global great triumvirate for many purposes, to learn, to see what's happening, to see those 3D tiles being rolled out in 2015, and wow, look where we are today, 10 years later, right? That was just an idea that was crazy at the time. And then to bring us together to talk to each other. How many side conversations have you had so far in the break room during the welcome last night? That's learning too. Getting to know your colleagues, understanding what they're working on, how you can build a collaboration with your colleagues as you're meeting them. And then also to spur that innovation, to get your juices flowing, if you will, understanding what's possible and getting that thirst for the next steps. So something for everyone at GeoEnt. We have, I would say, a big main stage that would be similar to this, but with seating for a couple of thousand. And then we have an exhibit floor that's the size of a football field that sells out every year with very big exhibits and then very small exhibits. And sometimes those are the most interesting because it's a startup that has an amazing idea that they're just getting going. So I advise, don't miss out on those. When you walk the floor, walk the entire floor. Get your Cesium t-shirt. That's always been a favorite of mine. I've got one in almost every color. And then we have working groups that come together throughout the year. We have a 3D working group that we partner with Open Geospatial Consortium, and Cesium plays a major role in that, to talk about what we've worked on throughout the year. Each one of our working groups has a program plan. What are we going to work on? How are we going to come together? Often the things that are worked on are ideas, and while we are a 501c3 nonprofit and we do not lobby, we absolutely work on educating, and educating on the Hill, educating within the big government offices, what's next, and how we can work together. And by being I'd say Switzerland, right, of the community, we're able to advocate and help drive change with our community.
Well, Rhonda, I appreciate everything that you're doing to bring together the geospatial community, and I love your passion for collaboration. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rhonda. So folks, if you look back on the last couple of decades, and you think of all the contributions to geo, Google has done amazing work for this field. Of course, one of my favorites is when Google created the Google photorealistic 3D tiles, and we saw developers, just in the matter of hours, start to pick up and build with that. And now it's a staple across the 3D geospatial ecosystem. So to hear more about Google, please join me in welcoming the Global Head of Cloud Geography, Sean Wohltman. Sean? Welcome, Sean.
Thank you, Patrick. All right. Morning, everybody. How are you? Good. Well, cool. Wanted to start out today talking about what I'm seeing as some of the trends, what we're seeing in the industry. Obviously, 3D immersive mapping is core, and that's why we're very happy to be here with CCM today. But also the drive for more analytics, and also the acceleration of AI. But I would be remiss if I didn't wish a 20th happy birthday to Google Earth, which actually launched 20 years ago today. Yes, there'll be quite a bit of press about that today. It's amazing to think back what it looked like 20 years ago. Getting content was not always easy when we launched Google Maps. We were a little over-indexed, I would say, on the United States. And when we brought Keyhole on board and launched Google Earth, it was a little bit of a different experience than what we have today. And we think about 3D buildings in particular. these were our 3D buildings in 2005. 2.5D, I guess, would be generous. And this is what we launched with. And quickly over time, we bought SketchUp, and we had modelers, passionate modelers, talented modelers that could build a building a month and get those buildings out there. 2008, we built our second camera platform. It was an oblique system based off of Canon EOS bodies that allowed us to collect ortho imagery and also oblique imagery to capture 45-degree imagery that we launched in Google Maps. And while we launched that in Maps, it was still really, really difficult for us to build buildings, but we launched a thing called Building Maker back in that era, which allowed people to take in that imagery and use SketchUp to paste those images to the sides of buildings. And some of them looked pretty good, like that one. Some of them did not. And so, in circa 2008, this is what we were dealing with. But people kept building them, and people really wanted to have this 3D experience, which led us to have a bit of a breakthrough by 2010, where we started to really play around with structure from motion and be able to build those now prehistoric meshes, but that have allowed us to be able to build out a majority of the populated areas of the world in 3D tiles that were for a long time in a walled garden, but are no longer so. So I'll just skip through here. So of course, you're probably aware of the photorealistic 3D tiles. So the same exact content that's been in Google Earth and Google Maps and kind of limited from developer standpoint, those applications, since we lost the Netscape API for Earth, you really couldn't build an application with it. But opening them up in GLTF, we wanted to open those up to developers. And there's a demo that I have that I give every time I talk about this. Did somebody in this room build this demo by any chance? Because it's one of my favorites. Because what it shows is taking those 3D tiles for a very practical purpose and using this AEC application to take an idea of what's currently in place today and an architectural design of what could be there in the future. And being able to do that in a browser, I think is just incredible. And that's exactly what the type of development that we like to see. So if you built that, awesome job. Okay, so we talked about the immersive mapping. Moving forward into the analytics, we have a suite of services on the Google Cloud Platform that are focused on geospatial analytics. And it's one of the things that differentiates us from the other hyperscalers in terms of our focus because of that 20+ year rich history in geospatial. So this includes things such as our AI platform with Vertex AI, BigQuery, and Earth Engine. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're opening up our data in Maps for further analysis. If you're not familiar with Earth Engine, it became a commercial product 2 years ago, but it's been in the community for over 12 years as a free and continues to be free for academic purposes. It is now north of 100 petabytes. It grows by about 2 petabytes a month. And this includes Landsat, all the ESA data from the Sentinel missions, plus derived data sets as public sector agencies and commercial companies publish data sets to our catalog as well. This is our scaled managed service raster engine. We also have a data warehouse called BigQuery, which is a fantastic vector data store. It's used largely for folks who are streaming like billions of telemetry data sets every single day. Also by folks that may have global parcel layers or field layers and want to be able to do really, really fast spatial joins. And for the last 3 years or so, we've kind of been struggling with the fact that we have this great raster engine, we have this vector engine, and they did not talk to each other. So what we focused on the last 6 months was launching two capabilities to be able to do interactions between that raster and vector data at scale. And that becomes really valuable when you think about some of the data sets that exist in Earth Engine. This is a data set from the US Forest Service. This is a wildfire threat assessment data set that's available. So these types of highly valuable semantic rasters can be super interesting for insurance companies or for real estate companies. And they're natively hosted, you don't have to download them or anything like that. So now what you can do is actually, from the vector catalog, find these raster data sets and subscribe to them. So we're curating all the really, really interesting ones that might be highly valuable, and now you can access them in BigQuery. And what we've launched is a brand new geography function called ST Region Stats, which allows you to basically do a zonal statistic on any vector data set you might have against these raster data sets that you find from the catalog or raster data sets that you pull in yourself. So that's pretty great, and that's a ton of open data that's out there. We have all of the Overture data in there, all of OSM is in there in BigQuery, plus that 100 petabytes of raster satellite imagery and other raster data sets. But people have asked for a long time, how do I access Google Maps data? And that's a challenge for us. It's a challenge for us because we don't always own all of it. So we have licensing restrictions that come in with some of those data sets. So when we think about solutions for how we can expose them for analysis, some of them have some challenges around them, specifically like our places data, our POI data. But at Next this year, which is our Google Cloud conference, we announced this kind of new era of maps analysis for our roads, our places, our imagery, our first and third party imagery, and then of course Earth Engine. So how does this work? There's also two additional features that are really critical to this in Earth Engine, which turns Earth Engine into a massive tile server, which can do vector to raster analysis for hundreds of millions of points and polygons. So you can actually just load a BigQuery table into Earth Engine, or this run BigQuery command lets you actually run a SQL statement on Earth Engine. And when we're talking about our data sets, we have over 250 million places covered. We have over 80 million kilometers of roads. And then we have over 100 million places that are really, really detailed, including accessibility. Can you get a wheelchair in here? Are they friendly to kids? Are they not friendly to kids? All those types of things that you might care about. And the rate of updates is incredible. Over 30 million places are updated, their hours every single year. We get 100 million edits from contributors, from data partners every single day. So the scale of these tables that you're now being able to analyze is truly massive. So I want to talk about just one of these, which is the Places Insights. And the idea here is that there's a lot of trend information in this data. I had a situation during COVID where a city came to me and said, we can't serve our constituents well because we don't know their demographics as well as we thought we did. And can you help us understand where are the Chinese restaurants closing and the halal butcher shops opening? And we said, yeah, actually we can do that. But we didn't have a mechanism for them to be able to do those types of analyses in the day, and now we do. So what we're doing is giving you basically a monthly snapshot of any country that you want to subscribe to, and then you can use BigQuery to do these types of analyses. Now it does come with a bit of a catch. I mentioned the fact about licensing, right? So we do not have the ability to just give you a couple 100 million place points. We have to protect our data providers, so what we've come up with is this data clean room approach, which allows you to do spatial joins of your data with our data, but do so with certain aggregation thresholds. So for instance, if you send us a geography, you can get things like the ratings or the prices of a particular area, but you have to have it within an aggregation. There has to be at least 5 points of a particular place type within that place. That protects us so that you can't just come in and scrape the data, but you can still answer those questions, and you can do them over a longitudinal period as well to understand trends. It works very simple from BigQuery. You can go subscribe to any particular country, and then you can look at the different attributes that are available for place types, business statuses, et cetera. There's over 200 different place types supported. And so I thought it would be good to kind of jump in and look to see what this might be in a live demo. Okay. So I've been warned about this, but I'm going to go forward anyway. Runtime disconnected, perfect. Okay, I'm not overly concerned because while it is a live demo, I've cached this just to make sure what could possibly go wrong here. So basically this is just a notebook, and I thought it would be interesting, since it's going to be a record-breaking hot day, to try to find a cool place to have a beer this afternoon. So I thought maybe I would just start with our hotel location here, and I would just create a buffer in Philly. And now I want to understand the ratings of nearby bars. I want to find all the good bars around this area. So I'm just going to write a SQL statement here, and then I'm going to look for a visualization. I'm leveraging, Cardo did a great job of building an open source implementation of Uber's H3. So I'm using H3 hex grids to basically find all of the places and map out their ratings. So I don't know what's going on in this part of town, but the bars are apparently not great there. So that's something to keep in mind if you don't head to the east, I guess. Now, the next piece of this analysis I wanted to look at was, well, how about the shade component? It's going to be 100-something degrees plus feel like even hotter today. I don't want to go sit outside somewhere and melt. So in Earth Engine, we have a land cover data set. This one comes from the European Space Agency. It's a 10-meter product. And so I'm going to use those zonal statistics to take those same exact H3 grid cells and calculate a vegetation cover based on the classification. So now what I have is a grid of bars, whether they're good or not, and areas of shade that occur inside of the city. Okay, so now what I can do is also I can create this red layer, which is going to be just the best bar locations. So the areas that are shady plus a certain review, higher than 4 stars. Okay, so now I have a good idea. I mentioned AI in there, but I haven't talked about AI yet. I will just start by saying I don't think everybody realizes how transformational AI is going to be within this year in geospatial. We launched a blog post about geospatial reasoning. We'll have more to say about that in a couple of months. But basically the concept that these reasoning models are able to understand GIS queries. In fact, these reasoning models wrote most of this notebook for me. So being understand not just spatial SQL, but also understand raster analysis is really going to allow GIS people, lay people, to be able to ask spatial questions and get answers that they couldn't get before. And I mentioned that code writing capability. So what I thought I would do here is I want to actually, this is the Cesium conference after all, I want to see this on those sweet 3D photorealistic tiles. So I wrote used the Gemini prompt here to generate basically a prompt that says I want to generate the JavaScript necessary for Cesium Sandcastle, which will load Google's photorealistic tiles overlaid with these 3 custom tiles. So we will put that into Gemini. I also will note that you can call that directly inside of the Colab notebook and actually print that out there. We'll use that image, we'll use that code as background. And what Gemini is going to do, it's going to go research a little bit about what the Cesium Sandcastle is and build an application. So we will give this one a shot live when it finishes writing the JavaScript. And if it doesn't work, I have a backup. Okay, so first thing it does is it pops out the HTML for me. And I'll put that in there. No errors, that looks good. Then I will go over and see if it wrote the JavaScript well. So let's see what it's doing. Well, first of all, for each one of those layers, I mentioned that Earth Engine is now a fantastic tile server. So it's created 3 different overlays, tile overlays. Somebody fixed a bug in the last 2 weeks to actually allow you to put tiles as overlays on the imagery tiles itself. So thank you if you're in the room as well. So now we can take that and put it into the JavaScript code. All right, I don't see any obvious errors, and I will hit run. Oh, something's happening. We do have a little bit of a internet issue here, but something's loading. Okay, it's working. That's it. That's just purely the internet. I will show you what it looks like. It was able to generate this exact map. It actually had a nice fly-in. It built the overlays for us. So now I know exactly where I want to go this afternoon to the west of this location, and we understand that this is the nicest area of town to have a nice cool drink. So thank you so much for your time. I hope to see you there.
Wow, Sean, that was fantastic. I mean, it's brave to do a live demo. It is really brave to do an AI-based live demo. And Sean's right, the ability to drape the imagery over top the 3D tiles was just released in Cesium JS in the last couple of weeks. And it was not planned. It was just destiny that the 20-year anniversary of Google Earth was today at the Cesium conference. So folks, I want to start to wrap things up and let you know, we're here to celebrate the contributions of the 3D geospatial community, but we're also here to celebrate all of the great work that's happening in Philadelphia with the tech community and the computer graphics community. So where you're having your meals up the escalators here, there's a lot of community tables showcasing university programs in computer science and computer graphics, local nonprofits working in this area, as well as the meetups. So please stop by the tables and get to meet everyone there. So folks, next up, we're going to do our breakout sessions in 5 different rooms. We're really embracing 3D. It's on multiple floors. So please check out your app to see a venue map and to see where each room is. And then for lunch, again, please check out your community partners. And we'll be back in this room in the afternoon at 1:20. We're going to do fast-paced lightning talks. And then we're going to have a panel on one of my favorite topics, open standards. So folks, I hope you get to learn a lot at this conference, that you become inspired, and that you get to meet, a lot of your colleagues from across the world. So thank you for joining us.